We all know the strength and the weaknesses of our New York Mets, and the folks over at SNY have talked about a team and a name that has resurfaced that was kind of at the deadline linked to the New York Mets, and now again linked to the New York Mets this offseason, and it may address a major hole. Let's get into it. What's going on, Mets fans? Welcome back to another off-season edition of Metcast. As always, I am Ryan. If you're enjoying this content, all I ask you to do is like and subscribe. Turn those notifications on to never miss any New York Mets news that you need to know. And there is a name now being floated out there that could potentially be moved that the Mets were linked to as of last season. And this guy is an outfielder under control for at least 3 more years, but it would take major prospects to pull something like this off. And we're talking about Jared Duran of the Boston Red Sox, a guy who would slide right into center field with the New York Mets. Had a solid year last year. The power numbers took a little bit of a dip, but he's in his mid-20s with multiple years of control left. Probably would cost a guy like Carson Bench in return. Do you want to go for the now or the ceiling? The folks over at SNY debated it a little tonight. We'll give you our thoughts. Let's give it a look.
Emmanuel, how do you view Duran as a target for the Mets potentially to play center?
I love this fit. Only 29 years old, so I think he'll age well as an outfielder. He only played left field for the most part last year. Cassadon Rafaela for Boston is one of the best defenders in all of baseball, so that kind of pigeonholed Duran to corner spots. But he played center field very well. There's an elite defender who gets on base. He could hit at the top of your lineup. He's a gamer. He has that edge to him. He's led the league in triples for a couple of years. He's averaged 30 steals for the last 2 years. I don't see any reason why this doesn't work, and it balances out some of the thunder in the middle.
Well, let me explain to it really quickly why some of the reasons why it does and does not work. I have a few friends over in Boston, and the Boston Red Sox are looking to add some pitching. And the first name, you guessed it, that came up was either Noah McLean or Brandon Sproat. That's what the Red Sox will be looking to get in return, as they are loaded in the farm system. We all know some of the position players that they have brought up and will be bringing up, and they had added Carrot Crochet this past offseason, and they're looking for that 1-2 tandem. So it may not cost you a McLean, but it probably is going to cost you a Brandon Sproat plus, and I'm not totally sure I'm willing to give up on that for Jared Duran. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, whether or not you would give up that for him. Me, not so much. I'm just not a massive fan of Jared Duran. You look at his numbers last year: 255, 16 homers over 628 at bats. You know, it's a solid year. No one can take that away from him. You go down the line, you look at his OPS, 774. I believe the league average last year was right around 760. So he's slightly above league average when you look at that. But the big concern, a career high in strikeouts, 169 at bats. Yes, the 13 triples is nice. The 24 stolen bases is nice. He is 29 years old. And when I look at this team, I honestly think that David Stearns is really trying to get young when it comes to this lineup. The Carson Benches, he has not traded away. The Jet Williams, unless it is a game-changing player, and I'm talking a Byron Buxton X type of player, that's what I'd be willing to move those guys for. I mean, we can continue to go up and down with his stats. Career 267, not last year, but the year prior. 285, 295 the year before that. His OPSs were 828, 834, 774 as of last year. You want to say last year was a little bit of a down year. If you threw him into a New York Mets lineup where he's going to get a couple more at-bats and a great protection behind him, I could see him blossoming back into that player that he was just a couple years ago. Not saying he was a bad player last year. He was a solid player, and let's be honest, would be a crazy upgrade over a Cedric Mullins, Jose Siri, or Tyron Taylor. 1000%. And what I like about him so much is the controllability. For some reason, the Red Sox have been looking to move off of this guy over the last couple years. And now you want to say, okay, if they're going to move him to a corner outfield spot, especially with the Red Sox with that short left field porch, yeah, maybe it makes sense to try to get a guy in there with a little bit more power. He'd be a guy that the New York Mets would stick right at the top of that lineup. I mean, literally right at the top of the lineup. That's where I will look for him. But again, another lefty bat. So if you were trying to play him in the 2-hole or the 1-hole, you're going to have Soto behind him potentially. Who's your 3-hitter at that point? You want to use Lindor, though? Or do you want to potentially move Lindor back to the 2-hole? Something we addressed multiple times throughout the program. I know a lot of you guys agree with me when it comes to this. We want to see Lindor coming up with guys on base. I'm so tired of him coming up hitting first, and the bottom of our lineup is terrible. One thing Duran does, he does stretch out the lineup, because if he does go number 1, you could go Lindor 2, Soto 3, potentially Pete 4, and then, a lot of people would say Brandon Nimmo, but I want to see the New York Mets bring in another power bat this offseason to finally get Pete Alonso, if they do retain him, some legitimate protection in this lineup. They tried it with Mark Vientos last year, a miserable fail, but that's where I'm at when it comes to Jared Duran.
Well, the Mets order, sign me up. Jared Duran, offensively, defensively. I understand there might be a personality question mark there in New York, but that's why I like him. You need to mix things up here with the Mets.
I'm not worried about the personality. I'm worried about him declining in a year.
And that is the guy, Jared Duran. Now, look, we have a lot of options out there this offseason. None of them are going to be as good as him. And one thing I noticed that Sal said right there, I'm worried about him declining in a couple of years. He's 29 years old. I get it. Center field, you want to be a younger position. But Duran would be an all-in move next year. Now, I'm not saying you got to give up one of those pitchers right there, but dare I say a Carson Bench, which I personally would not do. I think Bench is going to be an absolute stud with the New York Mets long term, but you got to try to look at it from a logistical perspective. You add him in there, couple years under control. That outfield is pretty much set. Dare I say move Brandon Nimmo to DH over the next couple of years, depending on what you do with Pete. You could have another outfield position. Don't forget, the Mets offered Teoscar Hernandez a 2-year, pretty sizable contract at $22 million per season this past offseason. So they were willing to add to this outfield, and I don't want to hear. I see it out there. The Mets looking for Carson Bench to potentially make this team. He cannot be the opening day center fielder, because that's going to tell me the bottom of this lineup is going to be completely abysmal once again. But again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you were to want Jared Duran, what would you be willing to give up for him? Well, I love going back and forth with you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Consider becoming a member to be guaranteed to get your comments and questions read live on air. As always, let's go Mets. God bless.